Okay, so this is Mike Merlin Means of Merlin Public Media, and tonight we have a brand new episode of our homegrown show, our local music show. Yeah, it's not a great name, but I'm going with it. And so let's move on. Tonight we have with us. That's your cue.
Oh, that's where we come in.
Yep.
Brandon of American Standards
and Steven of American Standards.
There you go.
Okay, tell me about American Standards. How long you all been a band?
Man, we've been doing this for over a decade, surprisingly. You know, if you told me 10 years ago that we'd still be doing this, I would have said absolutely not. We'd all been in other bands, and we basically, when we joined American Standards and made this thing a thing, we said, let's stop worrying about touring. Let's stop worrying about recording. Let's just have fun getting in a room and writing music. And now 10 years later, about 600 shows later, and on the verge, I mean, we've got studio time this Saturday.
Nice.
We're still doing the damn thing.
That is great. So you all came from other bands. What brought you all together for this project?
For me, so I think me and Corey, you got Steve on the phone here, but me and Corey are the only two that have really been in the whole time.
Okay.
And at least I can speak for myself unless Steve jump in. The thing that brought me to it is I surprisingly wanted to get out of doing just heavy music all the time, which if you listen to us, we're a heavy band. So I think
you
I
are
catfished. I had been in heavy bands for like the 10 years prior. And my whole thing was like, how cool would it be to just be like more of like an old school punk band, you know, still like focus on songwriting and have cool choruses and catchy stuff. But like punk ethos is what I wanted at the forefront. And I feel like we just got heavier and heavier, and I'm not complaining because, man, I owe the majority of my friends and all of the experiences I've had with it to this band. So definitely not complaining, but I think what brought me to it was just trying something different.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was in a different band when American Standards started. I used to sing for a band called Ape Kill Ape. And I remember playing some of our first shows with American Standards. So we were friends from the beginning. And I had known Brandon prior because we jammed a few times in another project as well. And, you know, of course, I had seen his old bands, Hostage Situation and stuff like that back in the day when I was going to shows. So, like, I was sort of like a little bit of a fan, you know, a little bit. But like I said, we were friends from playing shows together and stuff like that. And then it was funny because Brandon came into my work. I used to work for a Hot Topic, and he goes, "Oh yeah, we're looking for a bassist because Corey's moving to guitar." And I just remember being like, "I could do that." And he was like, "Can you?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, my band we just decided to call it quits. Like, you know, everyone's going back to school or getting married, whatever the situation was, and I was doing nothing at the time." And he was like, "If you want to jam, come over sometime." And I went over, and after the second practice, they asked me to be in the band, and I've been playing with them since what was it? My first show was New Year's Eve 2014, so that's how long I've been with them too.
Yeah.
How quickly time goes.
Not really new, but just not original crew, huh?
Right. Yeah.
And the wild thing is, I feel like throughout the years, everybody has exposed themselves as listening to my old band, The Hostage Situation, but none of them said it up front when we were still playing. Like when we were just starting the band. Like then Brennan, our original guitarist, sends me these pictures probably like after he was already out of the band, like of him wearing our Hostage shirts and stuff like that. And I know Corey was really into it because he's into mailing and everything. So it's kind of a trip to hear the tie back.
Okay, so we know you guys. Who else is in the band?
You take that one, Steve. That's easy enough. It's a soft.
All right, I could do that. So right now we got Chris playing drums, and he's been with us just during like the COVID. He pretty much got with us. So almost 2 years about, you'd say, right? Almost a year and a half, probably.
Yeah, about 2 years. I mean, we went probably a year and a half without playing any shows with them because of COVID.
Right.
But just spent that time kind of writing and getting them solid with the old stuff.
Right. Yeah. And then, you know, Corey, like he said, Corey's been in the band since it started. He was originally the bass player. And then I remember, like I said, when I ended up joining, I know you guys had, what was his name? Chris? Was his name Chris also, who played bass for you guys for a little bit from last March?
Yeah, Craig was touring with us for about 6 months or so.
Yeah, but then he was doing his thing because he was in Last March of the Ends, I remember. And that's when I came along. But yeah, Corey, he's doing his thing right now on guitar. He's like I said, he's been since the beginning. And then Chris has been with us for a while too.
So you've been all together for a while, and that's just almost a strange thing. You know what I mean?
To hear
Nowadays,
any
yeah.
like a local Arizona band that's not the Gin Blossoms that's been around for more than like a decade is pretty rare.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
the lifespan of most Arizona bands is, maybe one album, two would be stretching it, but to have a band that's been putting out albums and touring consistently for over a decade there's maybe a handful of them.
Hey,
Yeah,
man,
that's-
Jimmy Eat World. They're from Arizona.
Not familiar.
Jimmy Eat World?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they're from Mesa.
Okay.
They've been all over the place, Warp Tours, and yeah, I mean since I was in high school, at least 2003, I want to say 2004.
Well,
They're in that like kind of like contemporary rock now, I would almost call them.
Now,
But definitely
probably,
started
yeah.
off in like the I don't know, emo rock and
Right.
indie music, whatever you want to call it.
well, let me give you guys my brief into this whole thing. I am a retired lighting guy.
Okay.
I did video photography and lighting. I worked with 2 production companies in town, and in the time since my health is shit. So, that's a very long story, but I can't do any of that stuff anymore. So I set up this station, and I'm using it to promote the arts. And what I'm looking to promote is, if you're on a label, I don't really, you know what I mean? You're made it. You don't need me. If you're working hard, you're out there, you're pounding out the gigs, you're writing the music, you're hitting the studio. This is the people I want to talk to. I mean,
Very cool. Have you do you play music yourself, or what brought you into the music and radio side of it?
Well, working with the production company, I've had my hands on some audio, mostly a lighting guy and some video. And I'm like sitting here, I sold my studio and half my gear, and I'm sitting here and I'm going, what can I do that I can enjoy and give back? And I came up with this, and I've done, I don't know,
Sure.
8 or 9 bands from the immediate area. A really cool band from up in Colorado called When Darkness Falls. That's the most badass name I've ever heard.
Hell yeah.
And everything from mellow guitar stuff to tech death metal and everything in between. So I'm having fun, and I'm sharing local arts, and not just music. I'm doing theater and I'm trying to think of some theater, dance, all kinds of fun stuff. But I'm a theater geek from back in high school, so I lean toward the theater. I mean, I've been a lighting guy since Nobody Choke Please, 1976.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, I've got age and sickness has put me mostly in my chair here, and I'm giving back to the community and helping people that are working on their art. And
Well,
that's my
appreciated,
story
man.
in a short.
Yeah.
And
Well-
I bumped into you on Facebook from
We were playing that Kingman show not too long ago.
yeah. God, who all was in that one? Was Souls Condemned in that one?
You'll have to remind me, Steve. We did a run of shows, so
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. There was
bands blurred
Narwhal.
together.
There was Narwhal.
Okay.
Us, and then how do you say it? Itami,
Uh-huh.
and then there was Life and Limb. I think that's all the bands. Right? It's just the 4 bands.
Okay. That's a good night. I mean, from a tech point of view, changing over 4 bands in a night, I mean, you're dead when you're done.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the one thing about that show too is, like you were saying, it's hot as hell there. So we found out the day of the show that they're moving it to outdoors. They have an outdoor stage there, so there's more room for the people. And about 9:30, 10 o'clock at night when we went on, it was still above 90 degrees.
Yeah.
When you're moving up there for like 45 minutes, hell, if you're moving up there for 5 minutes, you're just sweating your brains out, man.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's we average 10 to 12 degrees above the Phoenix metro area here. So, see, right now it's a lovely 107 outside.
Jeez.
And my wife and I were talking earlier. Wow, it's not too bad today.
Yeah.
No, we should already be solidly in the 1 teens. I mean, we really should. It's hotter than shit here.
You know what they say? It's a dry heat, but
yeah,
right.
no one
So
wants
it's a
to live in
blast
an oven,
furnace.
right?
Yep, exactly. So let's describe your music to me. And I'm not asking you to put it in a genre, but if you can do that, that's cool. But how does it feel? I mean, what is it doing? Why are you doing these songs? Are you having fun? Are you like trying to send out a message?
Yeah. I'll give like my quick on it is I think once again we kind of went into it, or at least I went into it with like the punk idea where it's like we're not trying to be the most technical band out there. We're not trying to put on this huge scale production. We're really a plug and play band. It doesn't matter if you put us in a warehouse or you put us in an arena. We're going to be the same band regardless. And at the end of the day, the thing that matters most to us is just the connection with people. So like I said, there's no reason we'd be playing Kingman on a Sunday night or playing like, Kentucky on a Tuesday if it wasn't for this band. So it's really all about meeting people, having experiences that we wouldn't have had otherwise. And we've been able to do just so many cool things through the band, not only for ourselves, being traveling and meeting people, but also through, charity shows and charity compilation albums. Held this Sunday, we're doing something called the Independence Bowl, which is a big event they do every year in Arizona where they bring local bands, businesses, and people together to do a big charity bowl for local First Arizona. So it's all about doing something that's beyond ourselves that will last longer than, we will.
That's a little heady. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say it's definitely got like that punk feel to it for sure. Like the punk mentality of like Brandon was saying, we could play a warehouse, we could play a living room, we could play a stadium. It doesn't matter if there's one person or 100, 1,000 people. We'll do the same show every time. And personally, like I just have fun with it. Like it's almost like what's the point if you're not having fun?
Exactly that.
And I'm playing with some of my best friends, and like I said, I've been knowing these guys for years, and it's definitely got this like punk mentality where it's like, we want to like just do our thing. We don't. It's got that attitude in the sense of where it's like we might be playing more of a heavier metal type song, or we could be playing a thrashy song. It doesn't really matter. Like whatever we write, whatever comes out organically, as like the four of us in a room just kind of messing around. I can't talk too much on like the lyrical part because that's all mostly Brandon's and Corey. I just kind of chime in with backup vocals if they tell me what to say and I say it. but
we'll never let them know what these lyrics mean.
Right? Yeah. So I mean,
I mean that last run of shows was a good example. As we played that show in Kingman, and as you know, there's not a big all ages venue in Kingman, or I don't know if there's any dedicated music venues. So we played a brewery in Kingman, and then the very next week, which was this past weekend, we headlined the festival at a huge venue that's 1,000 plus capacity, maybe like 1,500 plus capacity. So we play anywhere and everywhere, but we give them the same show regardless of how many people or what type of venue it is.
I did a number of shows back in the day at Blackbridge Brewery. It's a weird little stage.
Yeah.
No offense, but it is a weird little stage.
Yeah.
But you get your gear in there and light it up, and you can do some nice stuff.
Yeah, we had a great time.
Yeah. Let me comment on and this is something that's kind of new to me, is the general metal community. I honestly did not start listening to metal until after I started doing lighting for it. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't get any of it. In fact, my first big gig I did did 4 metal bands, ran the lights all night. At the end of the night, the promoter comes back to me and says, do you listen to metal? I'm like, no. Like, do you even like metal? I'm like, oh, not really. And he said, how the hell did you do that show not liking the music? And I'm like, it's my job. But I got to meet between, mostly, up in Kingman. I got to meet the metal community. It is so tight.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh yeah.
I don't see competition. I see, if these three bands have a gig tonight and other four bands in town don't, they're at the show. They're doing something. They're supporting each other. I mean, it's the most amazing community I've ever been inside of. It's just.
I think that's the allure, honestly, for me and probably a lot of people is like at the end of the day, everybody wants to feel like they're a part of something.
Yeah.
And when you've got something as big as like some of the more mainstream genres, be it pop or country or alternative rock, whatever it is, those feel so big that it's hard to feel like you're a part of it. And I think when you look at like metal and punk, especially as it comes to smaller cities like Kingman and Bullhead and things like that have smaller scenes and much less bands and less venues to play, it brings people together and people feel like they're a part of something. And it feels like I can know a large portion of the people in this scene and we can do things together because there's only one venue to go to see this type of music.
Yeah.
And there's only 2 or 3 bands that actually live here and maybe 1 or 2 bands that come from out of town occasionally. So I think it always for me is like feeling that connection and feeling like you're a part of something. That's what drew me to that type of music.
It's a phenomenal thing that if you don't take the time to see it, which apparently I didn't for a long time, if you don't take the time to see it, you don't see it. But once you get in there, start hanging with people and talking to them, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, the beauty of it too is, and this is what I've always had the vision for American Standards is. A lot of metal bands, when you see them on the surface, they put off like this tough guy mentality, right? Like you see them with their arms crossed and you see these big tough guys that seem unapproachable and like they're singing about, Satan or whatever you think it is, But when you know most of these people that are in metal bands, they're some of the goofiest people you'll ever meet, And for American Standards, we wanted to take a piece out of metal, which is like the idea that just because you play in a metal band that you have to look a certain way or act a certain way. Like we're not even putting that front. When you look at us on social media, when you see us at a concert, we're regular guys going up there doing this. And I want people to see that like that whole like stereotype of metal or punk or what it has to be. It doesn't have to be that way. Like anybody can be accepted in this community, regardless of what you look like, regardless of what you're into. It's a very accepting community, but I think you got to show people that for them to be willing to take that first step.
Yeah, it's once you're in, but when you're not, you kind of gotta.
Yeah, outside.
I don't want to say prove yourself, but you got to kind of show up more than once.
Yeah. No, and that's the whole elitist mentality. So maybe from your perspective, looking at outside, like you said, it's it may feel like it's very inclusive, which I do think a lot of it is. But there's still a lot of that elitist mentality in any style of music. I mean, I look at our band as like we're playing in front of a lot of crowds that are only metal bands, and we're not metal enough for the metal shows, and we're not punk enough. We're not the Ramones or Sex Pistols. We're not punk enough. We don't have like mohawks and everything. We're not punk enough for the punk crowd, and we're definitely not soft enough for the indie or the country crowd. So like. We play a lot of random bills with all types of bands, but I think when we decide to play these shows, it's always about, do we enjoy the music and are these good people that we want to, be in front of the crowd for? If the answer is no, we're not going to do it,
Yeah. You have to be able to turn down gigs. I mean, I've turned down a number over the years and you can't do everything. First of all, you got to have a life. And are not any of us making enough money just doing this type of thing to we all got our side jobs. I mean, every one of us. That's how we pay the bills, and the music is how we pay ourselves, I think.
I mean, that's the truth. Like I told you, I just got off my 9 to 5 to jump into this, and we have had a hell of a few weeks here. Every time I think the band's going to slow down, you play a couple of shows and it speeds right back up.
So let's talk about that name. Okay, when I first heard the name, yeah, okay, granted, I've got a few years on you guys, but I'm thinking American Standards. That's like Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra, Billy Joel.
Yes.
And so I go and I check you guys out, and I'm like, that is not what they're doing.
That's perfect. I love that. That's awesome.
So how did you get to the name?
It's honestly, I think every band like probably goes through this where you get 4 or 5 guys that sit in a room and throw out names that the rest of the guys all hate.
Yeah.
And so we're like no different. We all sat in a room. We all threw out names. We all hated all these names. And at the time, like 10 years ago, especially in punk and metal, there were a lot of bands that were just making whatever random word plural. So they're like, whatever, like I'm looking around, like to name their band couches or tables or like, you know, that was just kind of a trend, structures or foundations. Those were all like, just, that was a trend at the time. So I walk out of the living room from wherever he's throwing out these band names that we all hate. And I go to a restroom and I look down at the toilet.
Oh my God.
And the toilet's American Standard. So as a joke, I go back in the room. I'm like, oh yeah, let's just call ourselves American Standards. And I didn't think that joke would stick for 10 years. But I also like the idea that, like you said, like when you think of that, there's so many connotations to it because you got the style of music like jazz standards and French standards and American standards. Like you tie it to like, hey, this is like Bruce Springsteen or something. And then that obviously stark contrast to what we do. Also, you might think like this is a heavily political band because American Standards. Or you might think, I mean, there's a type of instrument, you know, Fenders has the American Standard guitar as well. So it's got all these different connotations to it. But when you hear it, I feel like it breaks every one of those connotations and it's not what you think it's going to be, which for me is absolutely perfect.
So that first song, that's how you introduce people. When you're doing a show, the first song is where people get to see what you are.
Yeah, that's or the first time they pull it up on streaming or whatever it may be. And like I said, I think it's like there are a lot of bands throughout history that had band names that like don't indicate at all what their style is. But now when you think of that name, I mean, just think of old bands like the Beatles and the Who and stuff like that. Like that doesn't necessarily immediately sound like that style of band, but they've made that name like their own. And now when you think of that, you know exactly what style of band that is. And when you hear other bands' names that sound like that, you might have the idea like, oh, someone that's named something similar to the Beatles may also sound like the Beatles. So I think like it's a cool idea that we just took something that doesn't really mean anything in the grand scheme of what our music may sound like and kind of made it our own. And
it appears to be working if you're still going after more than 10 years.
It's kind of working here on it.
Yeah. So what's in the future for you guys? What's coming up in the way of gigs and stuff?
You want to talk about our stuff, Steve? I feel like I'm talking too much here.
Sure. No, it's all good. It's all good. So let me think. I know we have the bowling. What month are we again? We're in June. So July, I think we're wrapping up the album, right? And then is it August? We're actually doing a small run of shows. I don't have the dates in front of me.
Yeah, in August we're actually playing a festival in Salt Lake City.
We're ending up in Salt Lake City at some point.
Yeah, the festival's called Crucial Fest.
And then we also. Oh wait, what about? Can we talk about? Yes.
So is this new guy one of yours?
That one's going to be at the Metro Bar, right?
You're cutting in a bit, Steve.
Did someone hop in?
Yeah, drummer.
Oh,
the drummer, always late.
Stereotypical comes like literally 40 minutes into the interview on live fucking radio, dude.
Hey, I was on with Skype, so I had to like sign in as a guest. The shit was not working for me.
You can't cuss on the radio, Chris.
Oh, we're on the radio.
Wait. This is internet. You can fucking say whatever you fucking want to fucking say.
I'm just giving it a hard time.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah. So I think, I don't know if just for you or just for me, but you're cutting it out a little bit, Steve. But yeah, it's Salt Lake City. We're playing Crucial Fest, which is a 3-day festival, actually 4 days this year. And then around that, we've got a week of shows, which we're about to announce tomorrow on social media. But assuming, anybody hears this, if it goes out before, then it's fine. August 24th, we start that tour, and then we do a week of shows going through Albuquerque, Las Vegas, Denver, Salt Lake City, I think Tucson. So if you go to our socials, you'll see all those shows.
I will. And you put your stuff up there, and I'm going to start sharing it over to my listeners on our Facebook page so we can get more word out for you. So did you mention studio time coming up?
Yeah, so we've been in the studio now for, like, I don't know, it feels like a month or so. But we're finally starting to finalize some stuff this Saturday. So we're on the home stretch here.
So new release?
New release, which is we've been doing singles for the last couple of years here, where we just put like a single out every 6 months to a year. But we're finally going to do something a little bit more than that. Not a ton more. We're not talking about a full length here, but it's going to be a little more than we've done so far.
So do we get to hear the name, or is that still quiet?
It's still it's still kind of up in the air.
Say, is there anyone's name?
I believe that.
We've got like a dozen names.
We have tracks
here,
such as Song 1.
All right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, all the song names are absolutely like working titles that we've now played shows with. But the total release here, we got some working titles floated, but we haven't landed on something yet.
Okay, then we'll wait for that.
Yeah, the guy that we don't have on the phone, Corey, he's kind of the guy that's done art for us from day one. He's like the mastermind behind all that stuff. So I always like to, before we solidify it, feel like there's a centralized theme between the lyrics and the music and the art and everything else. So the names often, for me at least, come last, because I don't want to throw out something that makes no sense for all of that, you know?
Or try and work toward that name.
Yeah, I think a lot of bands probably do that too, right? They throw out a name and they just say, hey, we're going to make all our lyrics and all our stuff about this, or make it nothing about this. But my way has always been, let's get the final product and then we'll put a name on it.
Yeah, that makes more sense to me. It does. Oh, so tell me whatever you want. It's open mic. Talk to me.
Chris, tell them you've got the least airtime here.
Yeah, I'm the new drummer. I don't know.
Define new.
I'm the newest member and I've been in just a little over a year.
Okay.
But like a year and like 3 months. I joined during quarantine, so then my first show wasn't with them until almost a year later.
Well, it gives you time to learn the material and, get out
Well,
there and do it right instead of having to do a show 3 days after you join the band, which happens frequently.
Another example is I think Chris was going to our shows long before he was playing for the band. So that's like the centralized theme here.
yeah, I've been a fan for the longest time, and I was actually trying to join a couple years beforehand. It just things didn't work out.
The thing about American standards is if you just wait a year or two, someone's bound to leave and you'll have a spot to try out for.
That's pretty much what happened. Like, they ended up getting someone as a fill-in. So I was like, you know what? I'll let him have his time. And then I ended up joining another band. So, like, at the time that happened, I think I was in 4 bands. So it was fine that I didn't join.
The story of every drummer.
Every drummer
Really?
in Arizona.
If you got a drummer in Arizona, it's in only one band. He is not any good.
This is true. Or he doesn't have a drum set.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I know a guy up here that is in 7.
And Jesus.
Wow.
Well, in Kingman, he's probably the one drummer in Kingman or in a Bullhead.
Well, I'm not going to drop names right now because I don't want to piss anybody off, but he is extraordinary.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm actually starting an old project again tonight. So band number 4. So I'm excited for that.
Well, stay busy.
Hey, yep. If I don't stay busy, I have way too much time on my hands. I get in a lot of trouble. So.
I can relate to that. I can. Well, about 30 years ago, I can relate to it, but I can still relate to it. Yeah, I'm an old fart here, but that's okay. we're also having.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you having us, man. I think it's really cool what you're doing, not only because you get to help local artists and stuff, but it's probably also like, for your perspective, like a way to connect with people and stuff. Like, why the hell else would you be talking to some random dudes in Phoenix in like a metal band? So,
Well, because I like it. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like you guys and the band there. If you didn't enjoy it, you wouldn't be doing it. And same with this. I'm only about 3 months old, maybe 4. It's a slow build to try and get people to recognize you as an internet radio station because, well, anybody with DJ software on a laptop thinks they can run a radio station. So,
just like anybody that has $99 can buy a Fender guitar or a starter pack and start a band. We're all in the same boat here.
Yeah, put that away. Go out and buy yourself a $99 SM58 and pretend you're something.
There you go.
Those things don't lose their value. That's the only thing I haven't given up in my mics is my 57s and 58s. The rest of them, I sold them all.
The classic, man.
Yeah, they're good mics.
Yeah, they're like, between them, you can do like pretty much everything.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, so we're going to do one more quick thing around here. I want y'all to start. We're going to start with Brandon, of course. Introduce yourself. Tell me what part you play, and just give me a little bit about you, not you and the band, you.
All right, cool. Yeah, no, I'm Brandon Kellum from American Standards. Born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona, and try to get out of it as much as I possibly can. Honestly, music. I mean, like I said, music is not my first thing that I started doing. It's always been about bringing people together. When I first got into kind of the idea of building a community, it was all about skateboarding, as I think a lot of people, at a young age get into.
Yeah.
So it was just me and my friends going to a skate park on weekends. And then when I realized that there was kids half my age that were doing better than I was, I moved along. I had a weird detour into a professional wrestling, which is a very weird thing to say, but I lied about my age, and I went to professional wrestling training school for a couple of years. When I was 16, I told him I was 18, had my dad sign all the paperwork, and I was doing matches at the Coliseum, taking fake bumps in a professional wrestling ring. So that was a thing for a bit. And then eventually my dad bought me a guitar for Christmas, and I said, what am I going to do with a guitar? I'd never previously showed interest in music. And I said, well, maybe I can be in a band, but why the hell would I want to be a guitarist? The singer's the one that gets all the girls. So I tried singing for a band, and as my dad keeps gently nudging me that, hey, you're no good at singing, I finally picked up a guitar, learned some tabs, and started playing guitar for bands for a while. And then all these years later, found myself singing for a band. So yeah, it's him.
Okay, Steven.
Cool. So yeah, my name is Steven Mandel. I play bass in American Standards. And let's see. So I was born in New York, actually. I grew up in Brooklyn. I was there till about, I think like 2099, or not 2099, but 1999 to 2000. And at first I lived up north, up in Sedona, which is beautiful as an adult. But as a kid, there's literally nothing to do.
Yeah.
So the first like maybe month or two, getting to know people, making friends and things like that, I kind of got buried myself into music and just skateboarding around the neighborhood with headphones on. I was a big like Deftones fan and Korn and that. So music's been a big part of my life for a long time. And then I got the opportunity to play bass after learning a few things on guitar from a buddy of mine, or from my dad's friend actually. And then his son showed me how to play some stuff, how to play power chords and drop tuning. And then after that, I actually sung for like 10 years. When I moved to Phoenix, I just started playing shows here and there, and nothing really besides music. I mean, that was like a huge part of my life. I didn't really do much. Like I went to school, I worked at grocery stores, and then eventually started working for Hot Topic, which was a big music store, and that was a big thing for me too. And then that's kind of it. I mean, I still work customer service for the most part and play music when I get the opportunity, and that's my life, man. I mean, I can't think of anything else.
All right, let's go on to Chris.
Chris Daly, drummer for American Standards. I was born and raised in Phoenix. I actually started out skating, and then I tried like doing sports, and I wasn't really good at that. And then I was like around 12 when I first sat behind a drum set. And then after that, I was like, wow, drums are really fun. I want to do that. And then I ended up eventually started singing for metal bands. And I actually prefer to be the singer, but the only reason why I decided to drum again is because all my bands that I was singing for just always fell through eventually. So I was like, well, I want to play. I want to continue to play. And I noticed everyone's looking for a drummer. And I was like, well, let's actually sit down and learn how to play the drums. So I joined a Celtic punk band back in 2015. And
Wait a minute. A what?
Yeah, so I was in a Celtic punk band. That's actually
Wow.
I'm resurrecting tonight. Yeah, we were like Dropkick Murphys, but more folk. We had bagpipes, accordion, fiddle.
Oh my God.
Like we were full on Celtic. We all wore kilts. And we were actually starting to get really big. And we were known throughout Arizona as being the loudest Celtic punk band. So we weren't allowed to play in pubs.
Also, the only Celtic punk band.
So we had that coxswain, but we were more known because we were playing like the really big shows. And then our singer just didn't really want to do it, and he pretty much brought the whole band down. We all stopped for like a good 5 years, and I kept bothering everybody about it. I was like, hey, let's do this again. I miss it. And took 2 years for that of them convincing, but now we're doing it tonight.
Well, that's pretty amazing. When you guys are up and running, give me a holler. We'll do some talk time.
All right. Sounds good.
Nice.
I will let you know.
Okay, and the missing members are...
Corey would be the missing member here. Corey Skronsky. He plays guitar. He's from Phoenix, I believe, right? I mean, I know his dad's from Chicago.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's from here. Yeah.
He got married not too long ago. Steve and I were both in the wedding party. Steve was actually the best man.
I was the best man.
He was
well, somebody's got to be best.
Yeah, Corey likes tiki bars and
okay.
Legos. I don't know. Tiki bars and Legos.
He does like he's kind of faded away from Legos a little bit. I know he still has some at his parents' house.
He's a Disney nerd, kind of like Steven is.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that too. I am a huge Disney nerd.
Okay.
So am I too. So
yes.
I'm in a band full of fucking nerds.
So define Disney nerd.
Okay, so I've always been a fan of like Disney in general because I have a lot of like younger like nieces and nephews that watch it, and if you babysit, you watch Disney for the most part.
Yeah.
So I've always kind of enjoyed the movies growing up, but something happened one year where it was like my friends were like, "We're going to Disneyland," and I was like, "Let's go." So it was like 6 or 7 of us. We hop in our friend's car, we drive to Disneyland, and it sounds kind of corny, kind of silly, but like you step onto the premises, you hear the music, you smell the popcorn and the food, and you see all the characters and everyone having a good time. It's just like, it kind of sort of feels magical.
Okay.
And it just hit me in the feels. And like a month later, I became an annual pass holder, and I was going like any 2 days in a row that I had off of work, I was going. I went by myself a few times. I drove out there 6 hours, 5 hours. I drove out there with some friends, like people I met in California that we have friends with that like I just met them at the parks. And then COVID hit, and that kind of stopped me from being an annual pass holder because they got rid of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just something about the park especially, but like I'm a huge fan of just like like Pixar and like the stuff they're coming out with nowadays is really cool too, I think. And like Princess the Frog's my favorite. That's been my favorite for years.
Very nerdy.
So, yeah.
Jesus Christ.
See, my favorite movie is Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
There you
That's
go.
a good one. That's a classic.
See, all those sights and sounds and smells that make you feel a certain way.
Yeah.
The only connotation I have to that is, goddamn, there's gonna be lions and crying kids. And I might stand in this line for 3 hours, and then the ride's gonna be broken. I won't even be able to ride it anyways. Even if I can ride it, the thing's gonna take 25 seconds, and it took 4 hours to get to it. That's my connotation to Disney.
Well, you know,
But if it
may
makes
be
you
the
happy,
happiest place on
Steve.
earth, but they can't make everybody happy.
Right.
Fair. I guess I won't shit on it too much. Also, I don't want to alienate our huge Disney crowd.
There you go.
Right.
Yeah, that could be problematic, huh? That could be problematic. Okay, so we're winding down here. I'm going to have to get back to my oxygen supply here shortly. It's wonderful being sick. So what do you guys want to leave me with?
Probably the biggest thing is this: if you follow us on socials, you'll see the tour we're about to announce tomorrow. Tomorrow being, June 24th. So we'll be announcing a tour then. We've got some other local shows that will be announced here shortly. We got some new music coming out. Like I said, we're wrapping that up this weekend for the most part, with a couple lingering things. So we'll have new music. In the meantime, honestly, anything online / American Standards with an S at the end, you're going to be able to find us. It doesn't matter if it's Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or TikTok or whatever the hell website you're on / American Standards, you're going to be able to find the band. Any streaming site, Pandora, Spotify, Apple Music, we're on all of that. You can find all our 10 years worth of stuff, and anything going forward will be there too.
All
Exactly
right.
what the dog said there too.
Well, at least my chickens are outside right now. You can't hear them.
my dog, it was raining outside, and like he had the zoomies inside just jumping across these couches. So I let him go outside, and he got muddy as shit, man. He's like a new puppy. So this is the first time he's ever actually been out in the rain. So he is muddy as all hell out there, just having the time of his life out in the mud.
There you go. Yeah, I'm still waiting for rain here. We haven't had any yet. It's been almost a year.
Man, I'll have to show you. So the funniest thing too is we got this door that's like glass from ceiling to floor basically, and he's running around in circles in the mud, and then he runs full force and runs right into that glass window. And like, I thought he was going to break it. I think in this call you hear me yell out "Dunk" because his name is Duncan. He literally just ran right into that glass. I thought he was going to break the glass, but now there's just a mud imprint of his body. Dweeb.
Well, guys, this has been just a shit ton of fun.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you, dude. This is cool.
Another few
thank you so
months
much.
later on in the year, as we get, moving into colder weather, let's do this thing again, man, because I've had a ball.
Yeah, it was great talking to you.
Yeah. And we'll have new music by then too. Everything will be great.
Yeah, hopefully we'll talk to you in the future here. Hope the health and everything improves, and best for you and the family.
Thank you. Best to all of you, and have a wonderful rest of the day.
Yeah, have a good one. Later,
You
guys.
too, man.
All right, man.
Thanks.
Good night.